Tim Powers is the author of Dinner at Deviant's Palace, On Stranger Tides, Declare, Last Call, Expiration Date, Earthquake Weather, The Anubis Gates, and 3 Days to Never. His newest book for Charnel House is A Time to Cast Away Stones. Thank you for joining me, Tim.
Oh, happy to be aboard.
Let's talk a little bit about On Stranger Tides. When did you become interested in essentially the Pirates of the Caribbean?
Well,
you lived in Orange County. Were you a regular visitor to Disneyland?
Oh, yeah. I like to think no Orange County citizen goes too long without visiting Disneyland again. And, of course, my wife and I both grew up here, so we went there a lot as kids. And I remember when the Pirates of the Caribbean ride was brand new. I must have had it in mind when I was writing On Stranger Tides, in addition to having a number of other things in mind as well. And I wrote it after Lester Del Rey had rejected a number of my books. He gave me a contract on the Anubis Gates based on an outline I'd written. But then when he saw the finished book, he said, "Well, no, this is no good, Powers." And I said, "Well, I could rewrite it." And he said, "No, it's plain no good at all. I don't want it, but you do owe me another book." So I wrote Dinner at Deviant's Palace, and he said, "No, this makes Anubis Gates look good. You still owe me a book." And so I wrote On Stranger Tides, thinking, well, he's got to like pirate adventure, zombies, Fountain of Youth, sea battles, cutlass fights. And he didn't like it either. One good thing, I was really fortunate to get him as an editor, because every time he would reject a book, even though he made it clear he didn't want to see it again, he would write me a 4-page single-spaced letter explaining everything that was wrong with it. And they were very convincing. I think, golly, he's right. And so before I would send the rejected book on to Ace, I'd fix it up according to Del Rey's criticism. And so anyway, On Stranger Tides wound up with Ace Books and got that gorgeous Jim Gurney cover.
Oh, it's totally memorable. I remember the first time I saw that in the bookstore down at Aladdin Books in Fullerton.
I remember Aladdin Books.
Yeah.
That cover was responsible for any momentum the book had. And
well, now, what kind of research did you do what book or reading that you happened across inspired you to go with the pirates?
I fixed on pirates at that time before I did the research.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it just struck me, pirates mixed with voodoo in the Caribbean. It seems like that would be a rich, field to play in.
Slam dunk, yeah.
Yeah, as soon as you think of it, you think, well, yeah, you could do something there.
It has begun again!
And I was, for example, puzzled by Blackbeard's behavior. He, of all the historical characters that have had weird behavior, putting all the little burning fuses in his beard, and at one point he shot his best friend's leg off, and then got captured through such epic negligence that you wonder what was really going on. And so I told myself, well, find a context in which all these peculiar behaviors are not what they really were in real life, which is lunacy, but instead were shrewd and very, very clever. And so I figured, well, he meant to get captured. And it was a very rich field for this sort of book. It turned out that supernatural and pirates was a very comfortable fit. And so it was published in 1987.
Sounds like a lot of fun to write.
It was fun to research. Very colorful crowd. That's what you always want to find, and you don't really know whether you've found it or not until you're about waist deep in the research.
Tell us a little bit. Do you know how distant the resemblance between your wonderful original work and what's getting thrown up on the screen is?
No, actually, I have no idea. It was when they made the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie, and I went and saw it and thought, well, but I wonder if they read my book.
Had they?
Then, before the second movie came out, Disney had approached my agent and said, we want to option on Stranger Tides in case we do a fourth Pirates movie, which was, of course, still very far in the future. The second one hadn't even been released yet. But I was hugely optimistic. I thought, well, boy, I want this second one. I believe we went and saw it the first day it came out, just to add our 2 votes to making it, a big success. And it did have, it struck me, an element or two from the book, the idea of a character up in the rigging of a mast standing on a crossbar holding 2 poles to work a puppet down on the deck below. I thought, well, now, I wonder if that would have been there if I had not written my book. And, of course, the characters named Jack and Elizabeth. But they had, by that time, got the option, so I figured carry on. And then finally, they wouldn't actually buy the book until they were virtually filming.
Really?
Like the week before.
Wow.
They'll keep optioning it so as to hold the, rights to buy the rights. But apparently it's standard with movies that they don't outright purchase the property until they're setting up the cameras.
Wow.
Just in case the star falls under a bus or something. And so for a year or so, at least, I was anxiously watching, like, Google News for word of any progress. And I was going crazy with, they'd announce, oh, we're not going to do it. We're going to do the Lone Ranger instead. And I think, no, nobody wants a Lone Ranger. And then they
Not
say,
until you've written your novel about it.
oh, yeah. And then they'd say, no, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. And I'd relax. And then there was a online article that said, Johnny Depp was killed in a car crash in France. I thought, no. And, of course, that was imaginary. But then they finally did purchase it, I think in April. And at that point, I pretty well stopped bothering following it on Google News. It looks like my wife and I will get to go watch a bit of filming next week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
They're going to be filming in the L.A. area. The movie involves the Fountain of Youth and Blackbeard, but beyond that, things like a mermaid, a missionary. I'm thinking, okay, well, those are new. But I certainly don't mind. I've never thought that a movie has much obligation to resemble a book it might have been based on. I always think of To Have and Have Not, which was a great Hemingway book and a great Bogart movie. But the only things in common, well, really is the name of the protagonist.
And the title of the book.
Yeah. And I bet Hemingway thought, well, I don't care what they do, I got paid. They can make any movie they want.
This is the Dan Simmons once told me a story. His version of dealing with Hollywood is you go to the Las Vegas, California line, they throw the money across at you, you throw the book across at them, and then you go back home.
Sure.
Sure. And wait for it to show up. And
yeah, I always think it's hopeless and naive for a writer to try to intervene and try to have some influence on the movie-making process and try to work to make the eventual movie in some sense similar to the original book.
Well, it's such a different experience. I mean, when we read your book, it's just this immersive, fully detailed reading experience that, you know, we carry around like a memory.
Yeah, I think it would be a mistake for a movie to too closely resemble a book in most cases. They're such different forms and work by such different mathematics. And of course, I always remember that famous line of James Cain's when someone said to him, "What do you think of what Hollywood has done to your novels?" And he pointed at the bookshelf and said, "They haven't done anything to them. Look, there they are." That would be my attitude.
Firstly, mermaids, zombies, Blackbeard, the pirate all pirates fear.
Captain, I wish to report a mutiny. I can name fingers and point names.
Perfect.
Steady as she goes.
We've fallen behind. Fight to the bitter end!
You're killing her. I am a bad man.